So the curtain falls on Fox NASCAR's 24th season of NASCAR coverage. Although I doubt the audience will be throwing Fox flowers. Instead, it's going to be something more like this. While Fox is still going to be part of the sport in 2025, and Larry McReynolds is going to tell everyone that there's 252 days until the 2025 Daytona 500, the Fox-produced NASCAR Race Hub on June 11th will bid their farewells and the lights will go dark for good. That means that the final show from the Speed Channel to FS1 is no longer going to exist. So this video isn't addressing why Fox pulled the plug on NASCAR Race Hub, because that answer is pretty easy. Due to the new television deal, there is going to be no practice or qualifying on FS1, no Xfinity races, and 4 less Cup races. Not only does less NASCAR content mean that there's less of a reason to have a daily show, but also you have to consider the reporters, the cameramen. There's not enough work for a lot of those people, and so naturally many of them are going to get laid off. What I want to address in this video is what happened to NASCAR Race Hub the show. Now, there are many things that haven't changed about this show, like the radioactive segment and teams using this as a platform to unveil liveries to the fans. However, I just want to say this, I loved NASCAR Race Hub back in the early 2010s. I would watch this show almost daily and even go back and replay some of the best segments of this, because there was a lot to love about the old NASCAR Race Hub. The studio was filled with NASCAR decor and stools that made it feel like you were in a garage or man cave. Steve Byrnes was a natural and treated NASCAR with respect. You could see it in every program he hosted by the way he presented them with class. Danielle Trotta was also a likable host, especially if you were a middle school or high school boy at the time, then you liked Danielle Trotta a lot. But the true thing that made NASCAR Race Hub so exciting was Mr. Excitement. The Tuesday and Thursday editions were much watched television because of Jimmy Spencer. His crying towel was a politically incorrect take on NASCAR, whether it was calling out Kurt Busch or NASCAR's hypocrisy, or being a NASCAR fortune teller by predicting the win and you're in format back in 2012.
And if you win a race, you're in the chase. And if you are in the chase and you're the last car in the points each week, thanks for playing, you're out of here.
So the main reason why NASCAR Race Hub was so great in the early 2010s was because they understood that you can't spell fun without you in the middle. Whether it was the people on camera or the people behind the scenes, you could tell that there was a heart and soul behind what they produced. They did a fantastic job being informative, but also having some humor that actually tied into racing. Everyone would leave the NASCAR Race Hub studio on fire because they were producing some fire content, and a majority of the fans agreed because it was authentic. However, that wouldn't last, as the downfall of NASCAR Race Hub really began when Speed transitioned into FS1. Within the first month, Race Hub was condensed to a 30-minute show. NASCAR fans were outraged because Fox Sports had already squashed enough Speed Channel fan favorites with their fancy dress shoes. Now they were putting one of the only motorsports-related shows on FS1 in a chokehold. Fox eventually listened and gave NASCAR fans back their 1-hour daily dose of Race Hub. However, Fox would fix a show that wasn't broken, which might lead some NASCAR fans to think that Speedway Motorsports had something to do with this. At least for me, there's a couple of reasons as to why I lost interest in NASCAR Race Hub. Steve Byrnes tragically lost his battle to cancer in the spring of 2015, a major loss to that show. Of all people, Danielle Trotta went to go pursue a career in radio. Then the most egregious was slowly phasing out Jimmy Spencer. The studio became some weird looking spaceship, and then eventually they went to the whole Fortnite graphics. Once this show lost a lot of talent, you could tell that NASCAR Race Hub changed, and it changed for the worst. In 2017, Shannon Spake became the primary host, and I'm just going to be honest, she is an awful host for Race Hub.
I think we need to address the elephant in the room, though.
Oh,
That elephant in the room?
One angry-looking elephant.
Comfy chairs out here on the Race Hub set. That's what they're called, by the way. And that is because 2 of the 4 of us had a really long night on Sunday. The other 2, that guy and me, we're just going to pretend that we're tired.
Under her lead, the show became cringe and unfunny, and you had a lot of segments that didn't even make sense. Seriously, what does the Chubby Bunny Challenge have to do with racing? The beauty of the old NASCAR Race Hub was that a lot of the jokes actually related to what was going on in the NASCAR world. The show lost its authenticity and relatability, and slowly I just stopped watching Race Hub. There was no need to, especially with the rise of Twitter and social media. Plus you had YouTube videos and podcasts where I would end up getting my NASCAR fix instead of Race Hub. These creators were just as informative as Race Hub without all the unnecessary word salads and McNuggets that had nothing to do with racing. In terms of modern Race Hub, it is now a rotation between Adam Alexander, Josh Sims, and Caitlin Vincey. While this rotation is an improvement from the late 2010s under Shannon Spake, now it's just downright boring. I don't know, when I watch NASCAR Race Hub from time to time, it's like the personality and the energy was just sucked out completely. Especially considering that most of your driver analysts are now Trevor Bayne and David Reagan. Not exactly the people that make you want to tune in and say, man, I am so excited to hear what David Reagan thinks about the Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kyle Busch fight. So I'm sure that you guys are wondering, what was the root cause as to why NASCAR Race Hub went through these changes? Why did Fox change a show that NASCAR fans unanimously loved for its passion and its authenticity, and instead replaced it with a program that is mostly boring and sometimes cringe or unfunny? Political correctness is what killed NASCAR Race Hub, and there's 2 layers to this. Now, just to clarify, I don't recall any situation where Danielle Trotta was made fun of for being a dumb blonde, or Nate Ryan was made fun of for being such a serious nerd. However, I find it ironic that around the same time NASCAR Race Hub went through a lot of its changes as a program, American culture went through a lot of changes as well. And now, I just want to clarify, this is not me being anti-woke and undermining the positive things that these social movements brought about in the 2010s. My point with this is that comedy changed. All of a sudden, things that were funny 20 to 30 years ago were now deemed insensitive or just downright inappropriate. This was a shift in American culture that we're still trying to sort out as to what is good and what is bad, and at the time, I believe a lot of the traditional media conglomerates decided to play it safe and they didn't want to rub anyone the wrong way. Now obviously, the rebuttal to this is that you had Inside the NBA still be as funny as ever, even in this murky era. This is where I want to bring in the second layer of political correctness, and that's NASCAR political correctness. I want you guys to do something completely insane, and that's to relate to Brian France. See things from his point of view. Back in 2013, NASCAR's television viewership was declining. Journalists everywhere are writing articles on why there aren't any cautions and what's up with all the empty seats at Bristol. This was also an era where big sponsors like Home Depot, Office Depot, Miller Lite, Best Buy, and Mountain Dew were either cutting back races or were done sponsoring drivers entirely. Even the drivers themselves were critical of the racing product, as you had a Generation 6 car that did not race well at intermediates. I believe that with all the negative press, Brian France decided to go into damage control. Now, just to clarify, I am not close to Brian France. There's nothing to actually prove that it's fact. It's just my opinion. NASCAR in this time desperately needed some good PR, and that's where Race Hub came in. This show needed to make NASCAR's decisions look as good and as rational as possible. Even constructive criticism like, I think this would work better, or I feel like this wasn't the best move, you know what? That's still negative criticism, and it makes NASCAR, the sanctioning body, look bad. NASCAR Race Hub went this route, and you could see why, especially with NASCAR making a lot of changes in the mid-2010s, some good and some bad. The last thing NASCAR needed was Jimmy Spencer going on Race Hub and crying about stage racing and how these drivers just can't handle running 3 hours without a caution. Alright, cringe Jimmy Spencer impersonation out of the way. This is what changed NASCAR Race Hub. At the end of the day, nobody wanted to rub anyone the wrong way, especially because of social media. When it comes to Fox Sports, their worst case scenario isn't having a bad broadcast or being downright boring with the current iteration of Race Hub. Their worst nightmare is having either NASCAR, Coca-Cola, or Anheuser-Busch call in and wondering, why are you saying things that make our company look bad? Because of that, it is why NASCAR Race Hub changed. It's why no longer they had the blue-collar construction worker or the teenage boy in mind. Instead, they played it safe, and because of that, NASCAR Race Hub lost its aura in the mid-2010s to early 2020s. Alright, if you guys enjoyed this video, I've got some opinions on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast. Also, be sure to tune into NRF Productions for the stop-motion event of the summer, the 2024 Gateway Invitational. Other than that, this is Nathan for Digital Gas House. Life's a beach, and then you drive.